Alrighty, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Good afternoon. My name is Haley Delgado, and I will be your moderator for today's webinar. On behalf of the Texas Society for Public Health Education, we welcome you to our webinar series. Before we get started, I just want to review some logistics for today's webinar. Please remember to mute your lines. If you have a question, please feel free to type it in the comment box and the presenter will answer them at the end of her presentation. Please remember to complete the post-webinar evaluation using the survey form provided for you at the end of the webinar. If you are CHES or MCHES, you are required to complete the evaluation to receive one continuing education unit. If you would like to be a featured presenter in TSOFI 2020 webinar series or at the 2020 virtual HEN meetings, please email texassophie@gmail.com. So today's presentation is titled Burnout and Self-Care, and it will be presented by Lauren Pursley, who is here on behalf of Mental Health America of Greater Houston. So a little bit about Lauren. Lauren is a training specialist at Mental Health America of Greater Houston, where she trains educators and community members on mental health literacy, integrated healthcare, and school behavioral health, with the goal of destigmatizing mental illness across all communities. She has developed trainings on educator self-care strategies, burnout and self-care, and postpartum disorders. Lauren further instructs participants on the signs and symptoms of mental illness, trauma effects and reduction strategies, and youth suicide prevention. Currently, Lauren is developing trainings on the effects of grief, Mental Health 101 for specific professions, real estate and law, as well as teen mental health. As a certified instructor of mental health first aid and youth mental health first aid, Lauren has taught hundreds of participants in an internationally recognized and validated program designed to teach participants how to respond to mental illness and substance use. She has trained over 5,000 participants over her 5 years as an educator, including those throughout the Gulf Coast region in the wake of Hurricane Harvey. In partnership with UNICEF, Lauren instructed educators in Puerto Rico post-Hurricane Maria on trauma and mindfulness. Prior to her work at Mental Health America of Greater Houston, Lauren worked at a residential treatment center for mentally ill adults and has worked in permanent supportive housing and case managing formerly homeless clients. Lauren has a bachelor's in social work from Texas State University and is currently completing coursework in a teaching adult learner certificate from the University of California, San Diego. Please join me in welcoming Lauren.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you guys so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be presenting to you guys today. As was said at the beginning, if you ever had any questions throughout the presentations, please feel free to type those into chat and I will get to those as I am able, whether that's in the beginning of the presentation or during the presentation or afterwards. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so that we, I am not able to share screen with it. Okay, thank you so much. All right. We're going to go ahead and share screen so that we can talk a little bit about burnout. Burnout and what do we do about it? Self-care. So obviously right now we are all probably feeling a little bit more burnt out than we typically would, which to be fair was a considerable amount. So it's really important to note that even though we're dealing with a global pandemic, these are all problems that we were dealing with before March. So we need to understand that and see what we can do to help things now. So here's where we're going for the next little bit. One, we're going to talk about what is burnout, what are its risks, and what does it look like? What are the signs and effects of it? We're going to talk about the difference between self-care and self-compassion. We're going to talk about ways to decrease burnout, and we're going to talk about ways to maintain balance, or in some ways create balance if we're not balanced already. But some quick group agreements, as we said, some housekeeping. We're going to ask that your lines remain muted just because we understand there's a lot of background noise. We don't want anybody getting any feedback. If you have any questions, feel free to type them into chat. And also we're going to ask that, as always, we have confidentiality We're going to be sharing some potentially personal things here. We want everybody to feel safe. So usually I would say what is said in the room stays in the room, but we're all in different rooms. So let's just maintain confidentiality right now. And make sure that you take care of yourself. We are going to be talking about burnout. That could kick up some dust for people. If at any point you need to take a break, please feel free to do so. So first and foremost, what is burnout? I think that's a term that is used a lot in society, but we need to make sure we're all on the same page as to what the definition of burnout is. Number one, it is work-related stress, and it's a state of physical or emotional exhaustion that involves a sense of reduced accomplishment and a loss of personal identity. Okay, that's really important. It is work-related, but in some cases it can be related to relationships, but it has to do with something that we do. And when we're having emotional or physical exhaustion to the point where we no longer can accomplish what we would typically be able to accomplish, and we lose part of our identity as a result of that. Okay, so just to make sure we're all on the same page with that. And again, this is something that people very routinely understand or experience, okay? And especially right now, given the climate of the world, we are all having to change the way we work and change the environment in which we work, and that can definitely create burnout. So what are the risks of burnout and what causes burnout? One, having a high workload, which I was telling a coworker the other day, we picked an interesting era to get into mental health. We have a very high workload right now. A lack of work-life balance. Just so you know, I am working at my home. I have 2 dogs. I have an 8-month-old who is thankfully napping right now, but at any point, chaos could break out. And I have to understand that. I think something that I've been hearing a lot from coworkers and friends and others is that it's really hard to maintain work-life balance when you're working where you live your life. And that's something we need to talk about, of how do we maintain that balance when we're working from home. A lack of control in our profession. Hey, we're talking about public health educators. I'm a social worker. Right now, we do not have very much control in our profession, and frankly, very few people do. When we're in a healthcare profession, which we all are, when we have unclear job expectations. Now, this is something where we can start to take a little bit of control back. We might have a lack of control over what is happening around us, but we can still have clear expectations of what we're going to be able to do. And when we have dysfunctional workplace dynamics, that lack of communication, that those gossiping, those things that make things difficult for us to do the work we need to do, that creates burnout. And when we have extremes of activity, I think a lot of us are understanding that right now. The idea of there's nothing really going on, we're getting furloughed, or I am working harder than I've ever worked in my life. I just happen to be doing it from my easy chair. Those two extremes are happening to a lot of us right now. And when we have a lack of social support, whether that be with our coworkers or whether that's with our families, our actual, the group of people that we have around us. And with social distancing, that has made that kind of lack of social support even more pronounced. So it's important to be talking about that. So what I want to do right now is a little bit of an activity. I want us to kind of go through these symptoms of burnout. Okay, now the difference between a sign and a symptom is a sign is something that I can see. So a sign that somebody has a cold would be to have a runny nose, they're coughing, they kind of have that ooh look, right? A symptom is something I have to tell you about. So a symptom of a cold would be I have a fever, I'm achy. I have to tell you those things. So I want us to look at these symptoms of burnout. And you do not have to raise your hand, you don't have to answer, but I want you to internally ask yourself, yes or no, am I experiencing these? If you're experiencing one or more, that's okay. We're going to talk about how to deal with that. But I really want you to take this moment to really assess where you're at. One, have you become cynical or critical at work? Do you drag yourself to work and have trouble getting started? Do you become irritable or impatient with customers, coworkers, or clients? Do you lack the energy to be consistently productive? Do you find it hard to concentrate? Do you lack satisfaction from your achievements? Do you feel disillusioned by your job? Are you using food, drugs, or alcohol to feel better or to simply not feel? Have your sleep habits changed? And are you troubled by unexplained headaches, stomach or bowel problems, or other physical complaints? These are all, not only are they symptoms of burnout, a few of these, specifically substance use, sleep habits, and unexplained physical problems, are also symptoms of mental illness. It's important that we don't just kind of expect that burnout is just one of those things of life that we all deal with. It is something that is serious, and it's something that needs to be taken care of, because the effects of burnout, one, we can have change in mood, whether that's sadness, anger, irritability, change of energy, substance misuse, and then there's health risks. Okay, there's an increase of heart disease, type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, and we are more vulnerable to illness. Given the fact that we are now in a climate of a global pandemic, it is exceptionally important that we are taking care of our physical health, including our vulnerability to illness, whether that means taking vitamin C, hydrating, getting good sleep, but also taking care of our mental health. Something I like to tell people is that studies have shown in the last 10 years that the head is actually attached to the body. And when we are having mental health problems, it affects the rest of us. So it's important that we're paying attention to this, because 1 in 3 US workers are engaged in their work in their workplace. 1 in 3. 3 in 10 have the materials they need to do their job right. 3 in 10 believe that their opinions account at work. 1 in 5 say their performance is managed in a way that motivates them. 3 in 10 feel strongly that they have received recognition or praise for doing good work in the past 7 days. And 2 in 10 believe that they have a best friend at work. So we look at these numbers, and this is from 2017. These are the most recent numbers that I can find. I would bet that these numbers are going to be drastically different the next time we update this. But if only 1 in 3 workers are engaged in their work in the workplace, that means that 2/3 of our economy is not engaged. 7 out of 10, 70% do not have the equipment and materials they need to do their job right. 7 in 10 also don't believe that their opinions matter. Okay, 4 out of 5, so 80% of employees are not being managed in a way that motivates them. All right, all of these things lead to economic loss, but it also leads to, going back to the definition, loss of identity. Personally speaking, I'm a social worker. It's one of the first ways I introduce myself to people. It is part of my identity. And so when I get burnt out, I lose that sense of who I am. And it's important that we're constantly kind of finding a way to reconnect that personal identity to ourselves. And how can we engage that? So what do we do about it? We understand that burnout is a huge problem across the nation. We understand that it can have massive health effects, and not just during a pandemic, but especially now. How can we improve this? All right, so number 1, we got to talk about self-care. Now, it's important as I talk about self-care. Self-care is it's about actively looking after your mental health and well-being so that you can take care of the people around you. Okay, it is not a luxury. It's not selfish. And it is not just massages and bubble baths or treat yourself. Okay, this is important. I think a lot of times when we talk about self-care, we kind of get bogged down in, oh, self-care is vegging on Netflix and, you know, taking a massage and getting a pedicure and going shopping. It can be that, absolutely. But self-care at its core is doing whatever it means to be the best version of yourself. Sometimes that is not pretty. Okay. For example, one of the things that makes me the best version of myself is doing the dishes every single day. I do not like doing dishes. I hate it. It is my nemesis. Every time I go into a dirty kitchen, my dirty kitchen, I'm like, nemesis, I just did this yesterday. But I know that if I do the dishes every day, one, it's going to take 20 minutes tops. Two, I'm going to feel infinitely more calm and feel better about the state of the world if my kitchen is clean when I go to bed at night. And three, I know that by doing them every day, it's not going to build up, it's not going to get overwhelming. So it's not pretty, but it's something that I do to make myself better. We all, and I bet each of us individually could think to ourselves, what is something that we just really hate doing, but when we do it, we feel better? That's self-care, okay? So I want you to really broaden your gaze as to what self-care is. It's about being the best version of yourself. So doing the tasks that you've been putting off. I'm going to do a quick activity here. I want everybody to just take a second, close your eyes, and I want you to imagine a task that you have been putting off in your house. I've got two that I'm willing to share. Tasks that you've been putting off. All right, so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to count to 10. And I want my brave people, I've got 22 participants on here, I'm going to count to 10, and I want at least 3 of you to type in the chat box something that you have been putting off. Okay? I'm going to count to 10. We're going to reveal it, and I will tell you mine too. So we're all in the same vulnerability boat together. Okay? Ready? All right, I've got 3 brave chats. All right, cleaning my garage, folding laundry, ironing my husband's work shirts. I just bought him new ones instead. Dusting the house and cleaning the floors, organizing my closet, or reorganize office. Yes, yes, reserving time for gym and laundry. First off, thank you guys so much for being vulnerable and answering all this. I will go ahead and share mine. One, I need to purge my linen closet. It is not okay. Maybe if we knew each other a little bit better and I was on my phone, I'd show it to you. But I also need to reorganize my daughter's room because I don't know if you guys know this, but babies grow really fast and all of her clothes do not fit, and I need to get that figured out. And massive props to my person of ironing husband's work shirts. Personally, I just found money in the budget to send them to dry cleaning. And yeah, trust me, totally dig it. I don't iron shirts either. No, life's too short. But folding laundry, cleaning my garage, absolutely. So we have all these things that we're thinking about it. Ask kids to clean their rooms. Good luck. Godspeed. So here's the thing though. These activities are taking up space in our brains, right? They're taking up space. I'm thinking about it. I've been thinking about this linen closet. I've been thinking about my daughter's room. How am I going to reorganize it? I would bet that if I started actually doing it, it would take probably an hour, probably 2 to take care of it. The amount of energy I've put into it, though, thinking about it, is probably much more. So I want you to think about these tasks that you have put down on this chat box and think about how much energy have you put into thinking about it? How much energy will it actually take to do it? All right. So I'm not saying make a commitment to do it, but maybe this weekend, if you've got a couple hours, get started. I bet you'd be surprised. One thing that I did yesterday, and not to cause panic, but I live in Houston. So one of the things I did yesterday is I went through all of our hurricane kit because June 1st is next week, start of hurricane season. I was here during Harvey. I don't mess around with hurricanes anymore. So I went through all of our hurricane stuff and made sure everything was ready to go. If that's something that you need to do, go ahead and do that. But find something that you've been thinking about doing that you've been putting off. Take some time to take care of that this weekend. Just one thing, because I bet it's going to make you feel better. Another thing that we need to do is set boundaries. I bet all of us can think of a time. That's a great idea. I'm glad you enjoy it. Yes, please. And as an aside, if you live in a hurricane prone area, make sure you're ready to go. Make sure you have a plan. You know, it is important. We want you guys to stay safe. You know, the last thing we need during a global pandemic is a hurricane, but we want to make sure everybody is prepared and doing what we can. I can't control if there's going to be a hurricane. I can control if I have a hurricane kit. So, but let's think about it. What is a boundary that we need to set in our lives? And we can, this could be anything. It could be work related, could be marriage related, it could be kid related. Ask kids to clean their rooms. I don't know how old your kids are. You know, is it a matter of, can my boundary be close the kid's door? Suddenly it's magically clean. That's something my mom did with my brother. Or is it a boundary of, boss, I love you, 15 and 12, bless you and keep you. Is it a matter of, boss, I love you, I love what we're doing, but I'm not checking my email after 5 because I have a 15 and a 12-year-old, okay? You know, or is it a matter of, I'm not checking email on the weekend, or husband, I love you, but you're gonna figure out how to press your own shirts. I don't know what that looks like to you. Or my husband, I love him very much, but he cooks 4 days a week so that I do the dishes. We no longer argue about dishes. You know, all of those things are boundaries, and they're very small, but we got to think, what is something that I can build in my life so that I am making sure that I am taken care of and that my needs are being met? Asking for help. Who here, and I'm not going to ask, but I want you to think to yourself, do I have a hard time asking for help? And if you do, I also want to challenge you to find a way to ask for help in the next 7 days. Okay? And it doesn't have to be big. It can be small. It can be, hey, honey, can you go to Costco for me? Or, hey, I need help, or can you take care of this project for me so that I can work on something else? There has to be, there definitely, well, my husband and I have been working from home, has been a lot of communication about, okay, I have a training at noon on Thursday. Is it possible for you to watch the baby during this time so that I don't have chaos reigning while I'm trying to teach people about self-care? Yes, absolutely. He has a hearing next week at a certain time, so I have to make sure that I am free to take care of the baby. You know, I'm one of the ones who has a hard time asking for help. Okay, so we're not saying I need you to take care of all of the chores in the house. I'm saying I need you to take care of one thing, and it will help me a great deal. You know, but here's the tricky part. The hard part of asking for help is not asking the other person to do something. It's us letting it go. It's me trusting that when my husband is on duty, he's going to make sure the kid's okay. Whatever he's doing is fine. Okay, I have to let that go, and I have to give him ownership of that. You know, or if he's cooking 4 days a week, I'm not going in there and telling him what to make. You know, it's about letting go of control. So that's tricky. If you've got a 15-year-old and a 12-year-old who need to clean the room, maybe have a conversation of what clean means to you, and then let it go. Clean means no dishes in the room, clean sheets, floor, clothes off the floor, whatever 3 things that you two can agree on. So find that middle ground, ask for help, and then letting go. Okay, and then it's the brother or the sister of asking for help is saying no. I would bet that a lot of us on this call right now have a hard time saying no. But I bet most of us have in a story in our head of a time we knew we should have said no to something. We knew we should not have been involved with something, but we said yes, and it was hell. We all have done it. We've all been in a wedding where we knew our friend was going to become a bridezilla. We've all taken on an extra project that we knew we weren't going to get credit for. We all have done this thing where we say yes because we want to be the cool, helpful person, but it ends up hurting ourselves. There's nothing wrong with saying no. And more importantly, there is nothing wrong with saying yes, but. There's nothing wrong with a qualified yes. Okay. If somebody needs something, you can say yes, but it's going to have to wait a week. Yes, but I'm going to have to do that tomorrow. Yes, but I need this in exchange. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay. And there's nothing wrong with, can I get back to you? A lot of times when somebody asks us for something, we see this as this crisis and we need to give them an answer right away. There's nothing wrong with saying, can I wait a second? Because we need time to process, we need time to think. And if they're not able to wait, then potentially they can find somebody else. All right, so I want us to think about, if we have trouble saying no to something, I want us to think about, where is somewhere where we could add more space? And if you're really uncomfortable with saying no, say yes, but. All right, find an instance where you can do that in the next week. All right. So I do want to talk a little bit about the difference between self-care and self-compassion. Self-compassion is about acting the same way towards yourself as you do towards everybody else. Okay, because I know, speaking from experience, that there has been internal monologues that I have said to myself of things that I would never say to another human being. And that is really important that we stop. We have to treat ourselves with the same amount of compassion and grace that we give everybody else. So there are 3 elements to self-compassion. Number 1, self-kindness versus self-judgment. I am kind to myself when I make a mistake. So, common humanity versus isolation. There are 7 billion people on the planet. If even 1% of the world's population has done the same bonehead thing that I have done, that is still, hang on, I can do math, I promise. 70 million people. So I want us to think about that. No matter what is going on in our lives, whatever grief we're experiencing, whatever pain, whatever loss, whatever embarrassment, there could potentially be as many as 70 million people out there who is going through the same thing. And we're all in this together, and we have to show each other grace, and we have to show ourselves grace. And then mindfulness versus over-identification. The difference between I am angry and I'm feeling angry. I am having angry thoughts, not I am angry. Do we see the difference in that? Because I am not my emotions. I feel my emotions. And that's a very important difference, okay? Emotions are transient, sorry. They don't last, for better or worse. Joy does not last. Embarrassment does not last. Sadness does not last. Rage does not last. Nothing lasts. And so I cannot make part of my identity something that is not going to remain. And I want us to think about that really hard. So what do we do to decrease burnout? The number one thing you can do is talk to your supervisor. If you are feeling burnt out at work, if you're not able to do the work you need to do, if you feel unheard, number one thing you need to do is have a conversation. Be like, look, this is what's going on. I feel overwhelmed. We need to figure something out. Now, best case scenario, you're going to have an awesome boss who is going to work through things, and you're going to work something out, and you're going to figure things out together. Worst case scenario, potentially they aren't in a place where they can hear this. Potentially they're burnt out too. At least at that point, you know you have had a conversation and you can move from there. We have to find support, whether that's with our family, whether that's with our coworkers, wherever that might be. You have to find a support system. And we need to figure out ways to engage in a healthy lifestyle. Now, I am keeping this super duper broad, all right? Because I do not know which combination of movement, diet, hydration, and sleep you need to be the best version of yourself, okay? Everybody's different. Some people need 5 hours of sleep. God bless. You know, we all need to figure out what we need to be the best version of ourselves. So I'm going to go through this really quick. When I say exercise, probably a lot of you get just this instant negative reaction, like, ooh. I don't want you to think about exercise. Replace the word exercise with play. Okay? What is the thing that you did when you were a kid? Your mom kicked you out of the house on Saturday. What is the thing you did before anybody ever told you to exercise? Okay? For me, it was basketball. So my husband and I go play basketball at a park when we can. You know, we're the worst basketball players on the planet. It's awful, but it's fun. And that's all there is to it. I also like boxing. I tried doing yoga for years. I hate it with every fiber of my being. If you like it, go you. I hate it. I found I like boxing, so I box. Find something that you like to do. It could be dancing through your living room. It can be gardening. It can be Tai Chi. Whatever it is, find something that you like doing, and it's not going to be exercise. It's going to be play. Diet and hydration. I don't know what combination of veggies, proteins, and carbs makes you the best version of yourself. I would assume that you do. Okay, so figure out what makes you feel good. If you feel good after eating a burger and fries and you can go for a run, Godspeed. But find out what works for you. Hydration. I know for a fact I'm not drinking as much water as I need to. I would bet that we could all use to drink a little bit more water. Find what that feels like for you. Whether that means you add cucumber to your water so it tastes better, I don't know. And then sleep. Number one thing we can do for our physical and mental health is sleep 8 hours a night. It's when we repair our muscles and our bodies. That's when our memories go from short-term to long-term storage. It is the number one thing we can do for our mental and physical well-being. If you're one of people like me who likes to scroll on your phone, stop it. Put your phone across the room or in a different part of the house and just focus on sleep. Create a good sleep hygiene. So what I want to do now is I want us to think about a way we can create a goal for our self-care. Now, I don't know if everybody here knows about a SMART goal. So a SMART goal has to be specific, okay? It has to be measurable, has to be attainable, realistic, and timely. So we're going to create a SMART goal for your self-care. This says 30 days or less, but given the climate of the world we're in, I'm going to say 1 week. You can only make a goal for 1 week. The world is crazy right now. Let's focus on the next 7 days. We're either going to focus on exercise, diet or hydration, or sleep, okay? One of those areas, so specific. And I'm going to do one live with you guys. I have not been drinking the amount of water that I normally do because I honestly don't know why. I just haven't been drinking much water. So, specific, I am going to drink 100 ounces of water every day. This is measurable? Yes, 100 ounces is every day. Or like that is something that I can measure. Attainable? For me, yes, because before quarantine, I was drinking 100 ounces a day. Is it realistic? Yes, because before quarantine, I was drinking 100 ounces a day. And is it timely? I'm going to focus on this for the next 7 days. So yes, that is a SMART goal. So I want you to think of something very basic, very broad that you can do for the next 7 days that's going to improve your self-care. You don't have to share it if you don't want to. Okay, so yes, thank you so much. Walking around the neighborhood. I love it. All right, so let's make that a little bit more specific. So you're walking around the neighborhood. If you currently aren't walking around the neighborhood several times a week, I would say for the next week, I'm gonna walk around the neighborhood once. I'm walking around the neighborhood once. That is attainable because I can definitely do that 1 time in 7 days. It's realistic. And it's timely because I'm gonna focus on it for the next week. Simple, easy, elegant. 10,000 steps for 5 days. Heck yeah, got my Fitbit going too. What I would say is look at what you're doing currently. And if you're currently not doing that for 3 days, I would knock that down. But if you're currently doing that for 3 days or more, absolutely. Okay, I got eating one vegetable with each lunch and dinner for the next 2 weeks. Awesome. I think that's great. But I notice I did say 1 week. I only want you focusing on 1 week. Okay. We don't know what's going to happen 2 weeks from now. There could be a run on cauliflower or something. So focus on it for 1 week. But I love that, eating one vegetable twice a day, 1 week. Love it. If you're not already eating one vegetable twice a day, make it one vegetable once a day. All right. Again, this is about that little win. All right. We want that little win so that in 2 weeks from now or 1 month from now, we can build up and do another one. But this goal is the easy win. We want the easy win right now. Okay. All right. So I did mention mindfulness earlier, and I do want to talk about it a little bit because I know it's a buzzword and sometimes people don't really know what it's all about, but it's all about being here and now. Okay. Training your mind to be right here. And it's not just being here, but being open, curious, and kind. The example I often give people is, let's say you're driving a car and somebody cuts you off. Our natural reaction is going to be to say words I probably should not say on a webinar. The mindful reaction is, I hope everything is okay with them. I wonder what's going on with them that made them distracted to where they cut me off. I hope they get where they're going safely. That's the mindful reaction. This is not easy, but the core tenet of mindfulness is understanding, you know what? I've cut people off too. And everything turned out okay. And I hope everything turns out okay for them as well. This is not easy, but there's a reason that we say we practice mindfulness. The thing about mindfulness is you're never going to get good at it. It's something you practice. All right. Now, mindfulness is not religious, but it's a practice meant to bring you to this moment. Because in this moment, I'm in a very comfy chair. I have clean clothes. I am hydrated. I have recently eaten. I've got electricity and air conditioning. In this moment, things are pretty good. Despite the world around me, despite the global climate right now, in this moment, I am okay. And that's what mindfulness is all about. And it's really helpful right now. It's something that I've used a lot, especially in these really trying times. I do want to give us a second to just do a quick practice so you can see something what it's about. I invite you to try this because as with all invitations, you can turn them down. But if you want to give this a shot, what we're going to do is we're just going to take 3 deep breaths. We're going to inhale through our nose, like we're smelling flowers. And we're going to exhale through our mouth, like we're blowing bubbles. All right, and all I need you to do is follow along with me. We're going to inhale, we're going to hold it, and then we're going to exhale. And I'm going to use my hand to kind of help direct. Okay, ready? Inhale. Hold. Exhale. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. Last one. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. Now I want you to just breathe naturally for a few seconds, however that looks for you. And I want you to think about how you feel. Okay? Because here's the thing. This is the body's off switch. Right now, we are all in fight or flight mode. Okay? Our brains know that things are not safe, and that's why we're irritable and antsy and kind of panicky and might be having trouble sleeping. Our brains know things aren't safe. But we have an off switch, and it's mindfulness. It's breathing. Because let's think about it. If you're running from a tiger, you do not have time to go, so your brain knows that if you are taking 3 to 5 deep breaths, it knows, hey, I'm safe. And so it's going to stop cortisol production. It's going to start dopamine production. It's going to lower your heart rate. It's going to lower your blood pressure. So this is something that you can do anywhere, anytime. Take 3 to 5 deep breaths. It's going to start lowering your stress level. And this is something you can teach kids as well, whether it's just inhale, exhale, or if you've got little kids, you can do animal sounds. Like, okay, we're going to inhale, and then I want you to make the sound a snake makes. So, or whatever. You can do, you know, birds, or if you're more creative, wolves, whatever. But, you know, just getting them to breathe in and make that long, slow sound is going to help calm them down. And the fun thing is, if you do it with them, you're going to calm down too. It's going to make things a lot easier for everybody involved. Now, these are all really great habits to start building, whether that's for our self-care, whether that's telling people no, whether that's building boundaries. But there are always going to be times when we need an emergency self-care right then. We are about to blow up, we're about to get fired, we're about to do something dumb. This is meant to help bring you down in an instant. So what I want you to do is, I'm going to give you guys a few seconds to think about your answers to these questions. Okay, what is one thing you can do in 30 seconds to calm yourself down? Something that makes you laugh, an accomplishment you are proud of, and a person you can talk to when you're upset. I want you to think of the answers to those questions, and I want you to jot them down, whether that's something that you keep next to your computer or a memo in your phone, it's in your wallet, whatever the case may be, so that when you're having one of these really stressful reactions, you know ways instantly to help calm yourself down. So just to give an example, something that I can do in 30 seconds to calm myself, I can breathe. Something else I've started adding to that is saying, where am I? Because I am sure many people in the room have experienced the phenomenon of, my body is here, but my mind is in 8th grade, or my mind is somewhere else. And by asking myself, where am I can bring myself back to this moment. Right now, I am in my chair in my living room. I am okay. What's one thing that makes me laugh? There's a video on YouTube called Bucket of Sloths. It is, in fact, a bucket of sloths, and it is hilarious and adorable, and they're amazing, to the point where my husband has this bookmarked on his phone, and anytime we are getting in a tiff, he just opens it up because he is a smart man. An accomplishment I'm proud of, I will always be proud of the work we did post-Harvey. We worked with UNICEF to train a lot of Houston area educators in trauma and mindfulness, so that they could trickle that down to their students. And as a result, with UNICEF, we got to go to Puerto Rico and train educators in the wake of Hurricane Maria. And that was a life-changing experience. And I think I'll probably be proud of that till the day I die. One person you can talk to when I'm upset, my husband. I know that pretty much anytime I'm upset about anything, I can reach out to him. But I really want you to think about who's that person that you connect with. Who's that person, whether at work or whatever in your life, where you can lean against their door and just be like, dude, and you just had an entire conversation. I want you to think about that person who you really connect with. And I want to make sure that you are still connecting with them, even though you may not be able to be in the same room. So really find those people that are on your team, and really find those things that help bring you down and help you find humor in a situation. All right. Okay. Oh, we saw some more goals. We're going to drink 4 glasses of water a day for 1 week. Is mindfulness sort of like meditation? Yes. Mindfulness is like meditation. The terms are kind of interchangeable, but meditation can have kind of a religious connotation. So it's called mindfulness because it is very secular. But they are interchangeable, and it's all about being here and now. I'm glad that you feel great. Taking a deep breath, and my husband. Absolutely. I'm very glad to hear that. Wherever we can connect and find that connection is really important. But that's being said, sometimes my person is my dogs who, make me laugh and make me feel better. So there's nothing wrong with that either. All right. Okay, I, as always, have thrown a lot of information at you guys in a short amount of time. I do definitely want to open it up to questions. If you want to unmute yourself to ask a question live, that's fine with me. But any questions, whether that be about mindfulness, about self-care, about burnout, or about any of the other subjects I teach about mental health, trauma, suicide prevention. And as for myself, I am an open book. You can ask me anything. What's my sign, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the questions for everybody. Let me go ahead and open up the chat box. Oh, I've got Q&A. Nice. Okay, do I have any resources for mindfulness? Yes. I recommend the person who trained me and who really created a lot of the curriculum we use for mindfulness. Her name is Dr. Ann Friedman, and she has an organization in Houston called Mindful Being. And let's see here, and I will, I'm trying to, oh, panelists and attendees, okay. I believe it is mindfulbeinghouston.com. But if you search Mindful Being Houston in Google, you will pull it up. Dr. Ann Friedman, she is a gem. She's wonderful. She got to go to Puerto Rico with me to train educators. She is fantastic. She would be my #1 resource for if you want to learn more about mindfulness and have mindfulness instruction. But if you're just interested in kind of dipping your toes in more, there are so many apps and guided meditations online. I use Calm, but I hear Headspace is great, or you can just go on YouTube and there's a billion guided meditations on there. Just find what works for you. If you don't like somebody's voice, that's fine. Try somebody else. But those are definitely resources that I would start with. Let's see here, sorry. First off, I'm very glad that you're okay from your car accident. But absolutely, always ask myself, how am I? Yes, that's a really good way to bring yourself back and to focus on that. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. How do you tease out depression from burnout? So depression being a mental health diagnosis. If you are feeling, well, first off, there is an assessment online. I'm going to type it in here. It's called the PHQ-9. And if you go online and all you have to do is Google PHQ-9 and you can take it for free, it's 9 questions asking about the last 2 weeks, asking about your mood and your level of hopelessness and helplessness and things of that nature. If you take that and there's a scoring guide, that'll be able to tell you if you're at risk for experiencing depression. So that will be able to kind of tell you. But I think a lot of the symptoms of depression are definitely present in burnout, but where you need to start worrying about depression is increased feelings of helplessness, increased feelings of hopelessness, and if these have been going on for longer than 2 weeks. Take the PHQ-9 if you're seeing those symptoms, or if you're having a high score on that, contact a mental health professional or even your doctor, and they will be able to help get you down the path of what you can do to feel better. All right, we've got 2 more Q&As. Do I think burnout can lead to depression? Absolutely. And that's important to look at when we don't feel engaged in our work, when we lose a sense of identity as a result of that, we can absolutely start feeling depression. So that's why it's important to talk about these things, and to talk about these things not only with our medical professionals, but also with our family, but also with our supervisors, with our team. It's important for us to deal with this and not just act like it's not there. Burnout should not be a normal part of life, okay? Burnout is a symptom of a much larger problem. And what we can do to stop that, take care of ourselves, build those boundaries, and build in those supports, whether that be through therapy or medical help, however that might be, or through support through our work, we need to do that. So definitely, I definitely do think that it can be um, um, related. Absolutely. Okay. Any other questions? Let's see here. What is your recommendation if right now it's hard to get an appointment with a therapist or psychiatrist? First off, a lot of therapists and psychiatrists are doing telehealth and are doing a lot of ways that you can see them, like on your phone. There are, I know that there are specific apps for mental health telehealth. I don't have a good recommendation for one, but I know you can definitely find that. What I would do, how I found my therapist, just full disclosure, psychologytoday.com has a search engine for therapists and mental health professionals. You can search by zip code, by gender, by what insurance they take. And I would bet if they don't have something on there for telehealth at this point, you can call and say, do you offer telehealth? Because many providers, even my provider, didn't originally do telehealth, but right now we're doing telehealth or just meeting on the phone. So that's a really good first stop to find a provider that works for you. And I know that there are other telehealth providers through apps and whatnot that you can get connected to. So right now, I would definitely just start working those resources and try to find someone. I also know that the Harris Center, I don't know where everybody is located, inclusivetherapist.com. Thank you very much for sharing that. But yes, those are all really good resources. And if wherever you might be in the state of Texas, the local mental health authority is also offering telehealth as well. So if you're in Austin, that's Integral Care. If you're in Houston, that's the Harris Center. Or if you're in Fort Bend, it's Texana. Like there are local mental health authorities throughout the entire state, and they are all universally providing telehealth at this point in time. So reach out to them as well. Harris Health System, Harris County Healthcare, absolutely. Those are providing telehealth as well. All right, any other questions? I'm gonna go ahead and look through here. Okay. All right, well, thank you guys so much. I really do appreciate you being very interactive. I really do appreciate it. I really appreciate the vulnerability of sharing information today. I hope that this was helpful to you all. And if you need anything else, please let me know. I'm happy to help however I can. I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to our moderators. But thank you guys so much.
Alrighty, thank you so much, Lauren. So a few last things before we hop off. Let me go ahead and get these last reminders up here. So if you would like to be a presenter in the future, please send an email to texassophie@gmail.com for more information. Again, this is a great way to disseminate research throughout the research and or practices across the state of Texas. So if you're interested, please shoot an email to texassophie@gmail.com. If you aren't a member of TSOPHIE, we do have a QR code that you can go ahead and scan to become a member. Annual dues for regular TSOPHIE memberships are $30 for professionals and $20 for students or retirees. You can complete the TSOPHIE membership application at texassophie.org/membership or email texassophie@gmail.com if you have any questions. And that is all we have for today. Again, thank you, Lauren. Have a great day and stay safe.